Hi guys, welcome to new video. So today we'll continue talking about the strategies for Armies of Exigo PvP, and from the next video we'll actually start with the build orders videos. So in this video I want to touch on this section that I didn't really cover in the previous introduction video, where we talked about all the other information that you can find in this Excel folder and also in the other Excel file. And here we'll actually talk about the build orders. You have all the three factions here, all the different options that you can play, and I will just tell you where each of these options is the best, and also a little bit of information about it. So here we have the top section. This is just a really quick overview of what you can do here. So basically, if you play Rush, you want to just focus on swordsmen first, warriors or high stingers, and then quickly attack. Of course, this economy, you will build an expansion, then try to build some towers to protect it, and also to protect your main town. And then you will just make some basic units to also help you protect it. With defense, you just build towers immediately and then try to take up to better units. And with balance, you just create a ton of different units and try to build a combination of different units and then just diverse army, which is really hard to counter, of course. Here we have the different build orders. It's not like exactly that you always need to do it like this. There are always some slight variations that you can try to make. Even in the videos, I will probably not follow this like literally from one point to another. There will probably be a small chance, for example, a small change during the build order. Maybe I will build one building before another, or there will be one more peasant, or I will send one swordsman somewhere else. But overall it will be really similar, and I will probably also give you an exact build order that I will be using in the videos, always in the description. So once you see the video with the build order actually in the real game, you'll also see the exact build order that I used there. Those are just like general build orders that I actually just kinda thought in my mind. I didn't even have the game in front of me when I was creating this, so this is really just in general how you can kinda set it up. It will work definitely, but maybe we'll do slight variations of it during the videos, but there will be in the next video. Right now we are just gonna talk a little bit more about the theory here. So yeah, we have four baseline strategies, of course. And then you can also see that I have like two variations on balance strategy for Beast, and also actually three variations on balance strategy for Fallen. You can always adjust it a little bit. Yeah, so even this Empire strategy, you can always play a little bit differently the balance strategy for Empire. Sometimes you will just go for swordsmen and priests. Sometimes you will also add catapults. Yeah, you can see it here actually in the last point. You can add catapults or dryads or valkyries or whatever you want. It's just a variation, but you can also always just leave it as simple as it can be. And the reason why there are different actually alternatives here is because the strategy is totally different. Yeah, because here you just focus on the usual strategy with just goblin riders and then trolls, while this strategy is really heavily focused on combination of warriors and witches. While here we also have different strategies. Here you have the baseline one, where you just go for hive stingers and hive spitters, and then you try to go for cocoon and maybe cheese your enemy with some hive guards. But it could definitely be also adjusted, and it would be maybe even more often that you would just create a souls trap and then go for Avengers as quickly as possible, because that's your strongest unit and you want to get to them as quickly as possible. And Avengers are actually not even a part of any of these build orders, because the unit is just really far in the mid game. It's just not something you would create really early, because it's expensive. So I didn't include it in this. This is just a build order for first few minutes that will get you started in the game really quickly and really well prepared. Then we have the second alternative. This focuses on a really interesting strategy where you actually create nightmares. So you just really quickly rushes to the Vengeance Hall. You don't need to create any other buildings, even though you actually create Sorrow of Shrine, which will unlock you matriarchs if you want to also add them to your army, but it will also give you the option to research some upgrades for your nightmares. So that's definitely really useful. Outside of that, you just spam ton of Hive Stingers, then you give them the shields with Nightmares, and you have really tanky army with slows and pike damage, which is really broken, and it's really hard to stop that. It's not that common, but actually we could see it in the first tournament where Pravsha actually pulled it against Urakar in the last game of the whole tournament, where he was playing as Fallen, and he actually used this strategy with Hive Stingers and Nightmares, so it's definitely a viable option. Then we have the last strategy here. This is even more niche. It's really something special, but you basically just go for Hive Stingers and Hive Spitters, similar to this first strategy, but then instead of going for Cocoon, you actually go for Soul's Trap, and then you actually build a Hall of Whispers. You research Freeze, and then you start producing Voidwalkers, which gives you a really powerful ability really early in the game, where you can just start freezing your enemies. The problem with this strategy is usually that you just don't have enough damage to kill them during your freeze, because you just sacrifice so many resources, mainly gems, on this whole process, that you might still have problems defeating your enemies, and it will still take you some time. So if you play against like Empire that played the balanced strategy, they will probably already have catapults and priests, and you might still not be able to beat the enemy. So I wouldn't recommend this too often, but it could work, for example, in the team play, where your ally will make some really high damage units, for example like Trolls and Catapults, and then you will just freeze the enemy, and he will just totally destroy him with these units. Of course, it has to be a map where you actually play together, not a map where it's actually 2v2, but both of you basically play your own 1v1 with one enemy. Then of course it doesn't really matter that you have an ally, because he won't be able to help you in that fight where you would need him. So those are like the basic strategies here. Then we of course have rush strategies. This is really simple. You just try to get to swordsmen or warriors or Hive Stingers as quickly as possible, and then just spam as many of them as you can. Of course, if it fails, you can go for some priests, witches, or Hive Spitters. But usually, if you don't win with the rush immediately, it won't happen after that, because the enemy will just be in a better situation usually. Unless you like destroy his economy, but then you will probably just push him with the basic units. Then we have the economy strategy. This is really risky, but also really rewarding. You just immediately build an expansion. You produce some villagers first, but then you go for an immediate expansion before any other building. After that you go for barracks or arena or hive. Or of course first you will need to build a deformer, but then you go for hive, and also of course stables, and then you just build towers at your expansion, also later at your main base, and you just of course have really early double income. And if you manage to defend it with your towers and then also some basic units, then you will just win on the resources really quickly. But it's really risky, and if someone has really good scouting, if it's smaller map, it usually won't work that well. And then we have defense strategy, which basically just focuses on building towers as quickly as possible, maybe building some units. But it's really similar to economy. You just skip the expansion in the beginning, so you save up some time and resources. You get to the defense situation a little bit earlier, and then you try to force basically some really advanced units. So in this build order example, you actually have, for example, that you should upgrade to castle. But to be honest, you probably won't have too much resources for like knights or mages, so this might not be the best idea. But usually defense is played as Empire with Valkyries. So you just make towers, make a really defensive position of your buildings. We will of course take a look on that when I make a video for that. And then you just go for Valkyries immediately. And it's really strong, for example, in team play. In 1v1 I definitely wouldn't recommend it, but in team play it can work really decently. Unless like two enemies rush you at once, you will just get Valkyries really soon, and it's really powerful. You can of course do the same with other races, but to be honest, the defense strategy is definitely by far the best with Empire faction. With Beast you would probably go for either Witchery and try to make Trolls really early, maybe with Ogres, but that probably would get really easily countered unless they don't have Empire and Fallen, so you would only have to have beast enemies as well, because they won't have pike damage. Or you can of course go for Lizard Fortress, maybe try to make some stalkers, well, sorry, striders. Striders of course have stealth, which could definitely cheese your enemy if he is not prepared for that, but if he has at least one tower or something, he'll definitely have enough time to make like another Century and create a Phoenix, and then you'll probably have problems after that anyways. Even though the unit Strider has really good damage, it's also really fast, also has the stealth as I said. The only disadvantage of that unit is that you are really squishy, so definitely wouldn't recommend it in like a 1v1 unless you really combine it with warriors or berserkers. But if you have team play, once again, if you fight together, maybe your ally will have ton of swordsmen or something with priests, and then it could be actually pretty powerful, so you can definitely also try that. And of course, you can still go for Lizard Fortress and try Wyverns, but overall, Valkyries will always be better. I mean, of course, 1v1 Wyvern will kill Valkyrie, but Valkyries are just cheaper, they are faster, they have faster attack speed. You can heal them, of course, really easily with Temple, so it's just much better to go for Defense Empire if you want to go for flying units. And with Fallen, you would probably just build either Vengeance Hall, try to maybe get to Avengers really quickly, but you need actually quite lots of them to make them effective. So this is probably not the best idea to go full defense with Fallen and just focus on Avengers. Or you could make Nightmares, but then it's just better to go for the balanced strategy with Nightmares, making just Void Walkers with no army makes basically no sense, and only Matriarchs also doesn't make any sense. So with Fallen, the defense strategy is not that good. You could try to pull it off, maybe even if with Hive Guards, but once again, there is not much point to do it with defense when you can just play normal balanced strategy. So defense for Fallen doesn't make too much sense, but you can still try to make something happen here. So this is like the basic overview, what you can expect from each of the strategies. I actually have one more thing here for you. Here you can basically see how the strategies do in each of the formats. I have 1v1 here, 2v2 and 3-for-all. Those are like the basic ones. Of course, you can also play like 3v3 or 3 teams with 2 players or even something bigger, but that's not that common. And it's still team play, so we would probably do the similar things as in 2v2. But those are the 3 main different ones. I already made a small tier list down here below the build orders. As you can see, it's called strategy 1v1 tier list, so here you can kinda see the strategies. Yeah, but of course it's only for 1v1. Right now we are preparing for a 2v2 tournament. Maybe you play some free-for-all games on the community streams. So overall it's good to know where to use which strategy. So overall in 1v1s, balance is probably the best, because it just gives you the option to adapt to your enemy strategy or to any situation on the map. You can always counter your enemy, and it's just the most versatile option. Then Rush actually works pretty decently, because if your enemy is not prepared well, he either doesn't, maybe he's not that good player, then you can definitely just rush him, or he went for the economy strategy and he is not just able to defend it if you do Rush perfectly. So then it's also really good. And even if he plays defense, if he doesn't make any units and just build one tower or something, you can still rush him pretty easily, even against defense. So overall, Rush works pretty well. Of course, if he also rushes you at the same time, or if he plays balanced strategy really well, you might just fall behind just because you went for the Rush. But you can definitely try it in 1v1 and it will work from time to time. Then we have economy. This definitely can be pulled off. We actually saw it once again in the first season of the tournament 1v1, where Pravsha once again pulled it off against Urakar in the first game of the finals, where they played Empire Mirror. But once again, it's really risky and it's really hard to defend. And if the enemy player actually is really skilled, he will always be able to push you if you go for the economy. It would need to be like a really big map, and he would just be searching for you for a long time. He wouldn't know about your expansion, and then of course he would get the lead by harvesting more resources. But if he finds out about it really soon, which good player will always do that with scouting, then you will just probably lose. But it's definitely good against mediocre players or on the bigger maps in 1v1. And then we have the defense strategy, which is basically not unplayable, but not really good in 1v1s. You can definitely pull out some flying units, but once again, I would just do it with, for example, Fallen Balance strategy. We also saw it in the tournament, in the actual first game of the whole tournament, where Matt actually played against Danny, and he made some hive guards and actually destroyed him because he didn't have any anti-air units or buildings. So it's definitely possible, but once again, it's just a variation of the balance strategy. It's not like full-on defense where you just build towers, no units, and then just go for flyings or something more advanced. You just play super defensively, and if it's just the 1v1, the enemy will basically always expand or just create something that will totally destroy you. So not the best option. Also, you basically willingly deny yourself the option to scout the map or take any control of the map. So that's definitely really limiting if you just give up on any information that you could have for basically free. Then we have the 2v2 strategies. Still, balance is probably the best. It gives you the most options, and 2 players is still not that much. It's actually quite often just 2 1v1s, just with small help from each other. So balance probably still the best. However, I don't think Rush is too good here anymore. It dropped actually on the last position, I think, because you can pull it off if both of you rush someone and he's not prepared well. Maybe he went for economy and his allies may be far away, won't help him. Then it can work, but in most cases Rush won't work in 2v2 if the enemies are actually good. Defense actually works really well here. Mainly the Valkyrie strategy. I think this is one of the best options that you can actually choose for 2v2, and I'm not trying to influence you before the tournament or anything. But if one team goes for a really good balance strategy, and it doesn't really matter which race he plays, then the second player definitely can go for either defense or economy. So he will either get resource advantage or he will get army advantage with, for example, flying units, but it can be anything else, just something a little bit more advanced, which will totally boost the army of the first player. But it always depends on the map, on the composition, and always on the strategy of your enemy. You need still really good scouting. You cannot just wait there and wait for enemy to rush you. So you need to always have the information of what's happening on the map. And in free-for-all, I actually think the best strategy is economy. Of course, it cannot be on like a Ring of War map where you have everyone right next to each other, and then maybe 2 players are attacking you at the same time right from the beginning, then you will just instantly lose. But if it's just anything a little bit bigger, usually the map for 5 players, there is just one of them, is big enough for you to immediately expand and just get some extra resources. No one will usually rush in these games, so you don't have to worry about that, and it will just give you small advantage. Yeah, but even if you want to play a balanced strategy, it's still a viable option. You can definitely do that. You can either go for, you can even go for defense. Maybe this could be interchangeable. It's like on the same level, let's say. This gives you a little bit more scouting and safe spot if someone actually decides to rush you. This gives you maybe an option to create decent army, but if someone goes for economy, he will still defeat you anyways. So I don't think you want to like play super defensively in the free-for-all. And of course, rush makes basically no sense in free-for-all. You will just give up your army and then someone else will just kill you. Even though it can work, but only if it's actually a map when you have like 2 players somewhere on the map and another 2 players somewhere else, or 3. Then you can just try to rush him if no one else is close, but if the positions are balanced, which they usually are in free-for-all games, it doesn't really make that much sense to rush. So this is like the basic overview of the strategies. I hope you understand now where you should pick all the different strategies. If you just cover it for the tournament that will be coming now, 2v2, you just saw it. You can try rush, but it's probably not gonna work if you have decent players against you. Of course, we have players of all the different skill levels in the tournament, so definitely you can probably pull it off against some of the teams, but of course I'm not gonna predict which of the teams it will be. We don't even have the teams assembled yet. There are like 2 teams now, and everyone else just registered alone, so we'll need to assemble the teams first, but it can definitely work against someone. Yeah, don't just throw this idea away. Then you have the economy, definitely could be used. I'm expecting many players to use either economy or defense in combination with balance. I would definitely not recommend going both of the players, economy or defense, or both the same, because you will just get probably destroyed if the enemy player is just scouting you and plays balance strategy. They will just destroy you together. So definitely at least one of the players should be playing balance, and then you can basically combine it with whatever you want, most likely economy or defense. So that's like the baseline for 2v2, I would say. But overall, the main thing that you need to make sure you are doing in team play is always communicating with your teammates. You just need to establish the strategy. If you both just randomly do something, it will probably not work if the enemy is decent, because they will be probably communicating, and if you don't, you will just fall behind because you won't be able to actually make any synergy with your ally. So yeah, I hope I covered everything, and I also actually made a poll on the Discord server where I let you vote it what you want to see first, because I won't be able to make videos for all the build orders before the tournament. So I actually made a poll there. You actually voted with 1 vote for every single option except one, where there were 3 votes, and that was balanced strategies. So I will start with the balanced strategies, which are the most important anyways. I will just start probably from Empire, then we can continue with these 2 beast strategies, and finally I will cover 3 fallen strategies in the end. I'm releasing videos now every day. One day is always some gameplay video, either from stream or from the tournament. That actually ended now. I finally released the whole stream. And between those days, that's like every other day, and between those days I will be releasing these guides for the build orders. So this is only like 6 videos, so that will be like 12 days. So we have enough time, because the tournament is like in 3 weeks, so we have enough time for that. So yeah, I hope you understood everything. Once again, you can just ask me in the comments if you need to explain something in more detail. Outside of that, we'll of course cover everything in really big detail in the build order videos, and you can expect one in 2 days. So that will be probably the Empire balance build order. So thanks for watching, and take care, guys.